Well, today we bring you a story we originally started planning in early March of 2020 about big things happening in the small town of Medina. Something big happened, all right. And here we are 2 years later, half picking up where we left off, half starting over, but all in on sharing a story involving a couple who are the kind of people who may start as strangers, but quickly feel like old friends. So what makes Alex Gilman and Scott Robinson such a dynamic duo? That's kind of a long story, but for starters, they know that good things take time.
We've had friends come out and they're like, you guys are a Hallmark town. And we have a giant Christmas parade and they're like, you're literally a Hallmark Christmas parade. Like,
yeah.
And that's what I think that people have gotten to if you give Medina a shot, you're gonna start telling people like, oh, that's cool, you went out in Buffalo or Rochester. You should go to Medina too. Like, that's and you get out of your car and you're like, oh, okay, now I get it.
If Medina seems like a Hallmark town, Scott Robinson and Alex Gilman could certainly pass for a Hallmark couple.
So we were in, I believe it was 6th grade English class.
True.
And I passed Alex a note inviting her to a dance. And I think the next day you gave me a note that was like, well, someone else had asked you and you weren't gonna go, so you turned me down. And we waited until, I think it was 17 years later, around the time of our 10-year reunion, which our 20-year would be this year. And I asked you out again.
But he kept a journal for the couple of days of 6th grade that I happened to follow
like
around. 2 pages of the 6th grade Scott journal happened to be about my rejecting him for the dance. And it's got this cute, scrawled handwriting, like Scott plus Alex with a heart around it that surfaced. His mom was like, Alex, I think I have it. Yeah.
I was smart enough to date, so I was able to propose on the day that she turned me down.
You gotta admit, it's a pretty good story. And it gets better. Alex and Scott were living in Washington, D.C. when they began to feel the pull of the place they grew up. A phone call with the owner of a piece of hometown history would change everything.
We were talking about ways to expand Medina, and he called me up that afternoon. He's like, hey, I don't want to catch you off guard at dinner, but we're thinking of selling the Shirt Factory. We want you to buy it and open a cocktail bar. So there you go, I'll see you tonight.
Before we even moved home, we were home for a weekend.
Right.
And that's when he said, do you think you'd want to essentially next year?
And we made the deal that if you let us get through everything else first, then we'll do it at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. So this was never the plan.
Right.
It just happened to be kind of kismet.
It happened at the right time.
Yeah, it was total serendipity.
Total serendipity. Together, Scott, the marketing pro, and Alex, the English teacher, stitched together a new chapter for their hometown in a place known for outfitting some of history's most dashing and powerful people. The Shirt Factory became a cafe and cocktail bar, something mixology hobbyist Scott had only dreamed of.
We have a couple rules at the bar. You should not use certain language, and you cannot badmouth Medina.
And so it went. 2 Medina natives came together to find love and libations, all while helping to revitalize their enchanting hometown. Hallmark might call it fate with a twist or something. But this isn't Hallmark. This is a real story with real people. And in March of 2020, the reality of owning a small business in a small town and of all things a cocktail bar and cafe, well, that was a real different story.
It was scary, and it was just like, how are we going to make sure that everyone in our community is okay? And as a restaurant, you're kind of like, I can feed people.
And so they did. They took whatever momentum they had going at the time and put it into supporting their family and friends and neighbors and fellow business owners in Medina and anyone else seeking a little comfort in such an uncertain time.
We had a lot of people from Buffalo coming out because they felt better in a small town. So in a way, we actually grew our following based off of that.
Like so many other things in their lives, the how and the when and the why may have been a little murky. But the where, well, that was pretty easy to figure out.
It was the fun. It was how can we put our minds together creatively, have a little bit of fun. It's not our daytime job, but it's a way that we can play together And it became the passion project. And that, I think, for everyone here, Medina is the passion project, you know, and let's have some fun while we're at it.
And you know what they say, the more, the merrier. In 2021, Alex and Scott welcomed little Rue to their family, adding another friendly face to welcome customers to this place they've created here in their town. A kind of home most times you'll only see in the movies.
Roots in the past, eyes on the future. And I mean, it's been the tagline for decades.
Yeah.
And it was always that idea that we're not going to ignore the past, but we're definitely looking to the future. And
Now
it's so fitting now.
Absolutely. That one did age well.
And Scott and Alex are active on Instagram. They also share their adventures in parenthood and business and more on their blog in adcminute.com. They're excited to be bringing back special events now to the Shirt Factory and to continue to help Medina thrive. Of course, you can learn more on Instagram or go to shirtfactorymedina.com. And I'll tell you this, Maria, they also make a award-winning Bloody Mary.
Oh. Well, you know, they're the type of people, Kate, that came across in your interview, you just kind of want to sit down and talk with them.
Well, we would joke that we got to know each other through social media. So it was kind of like we felt like friends, even though we'd never met in person. So it was wonderful to be able to meet them, chat with them, and share their story.
Love that story. Really cool. Really nice. I'm going to have to visit that. The Shirt Factory,
The Shirt
Medina,
Factory, yep.
Okay.